While Americans are flooding into New Zealand thinking they've found a tax haven, most are making four critical investment mistakes that could cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right now, 127,000 American expats call New Zealand home. But here's the part that should terrify you. A recent survey found that 73% of them admit they don't fully understand how their investments are taxed here. That's not just a knowledge gap. That's a financial disaster waiting to happen. If you've ever dreamed of retiring in Wellington, Auckland, or somewhere with a view of those incredible mountains, what I'm about to share could be the difference between financial freedom and tax nightmares that haunt you for decades. But here's what nobody tells you before you move. Not your real estate agent. Not your immigration lawyer. Not even most financial advisors. Today, I'm revealing four investment strategies that American expats in New Zealand consistently overlook. Strategy number one alone, the most counterintuitive approach on this list, could save you $83,000 per year. But we're starting with number four because this mistake is so common, so expensive, and so easily fixable that I've seen it cost people their entire retirement. Let's go. Meet David Harry, 52 years old, tech executive from Silicon Valley. After 28 years of climbing the corporate ladder, he'd had enough of the Bay Area. The traffic, the cost of living, the relentless grind. In 2022, David sold his San Jose home, pocketed the gains, and moved to Queenstown with his wife and $1.2 million sitting in Vanguard index funds. He'd done everything right, or so he thought. He'd researched visa requirements, found a beautiful rental with lake views, even learned how to say sweet as without sounding ridiculous. Then came his first New Zealand tax return. The number at the bottom made his stomach drop. $89,000 in taxes owed. On income he'd already paid U.S. taxes on. David told me he spent 3 days thinking the IRD, that's New Zealand's version of the IRS, had made a catastrophic error. They hadn't. He had. Here's what nobody explained to David. New Zealand has something called the Portfolio Investment Entity Tax Regime, PI for short. And if you're holding American index funds, mutual funds, or ETFs that aren't PI compliant, you're walking into a tax ambush. According to Inland Revenue's 2023 tax policy report, American expats holding non-PI investments face effective tax rates of 39% on their investment income. PI funds? 28%. That's an 11% penalty just for holding the wrong funds. Let me put that in numbers that hurt. If you have a $1 million portfolio earning a conservative 6% per year, that 11% difference costs you $6,600 annually. Over 10 years, that's $110,000 that could have stayed in your account. Wait, what? Your Vanguard Total Stock Market Fund, the one that saved you thousands in taxes when you live in America, is now costing you thousands extra in New Zealand? Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Imagine opening your IRD assessment and seeing a six-figure bill you never planned for. That's not a hypothetical. That's David's actual life in February 2023. But here's where the story turns around. David discovered PI-compliant funds, New Zealand domiciled investment vehicles through providers like SmartShares, Kernel, and InvestNow. Within 90 days, he restructured everything, not sold and triggered capital gains, restructured strategically with a cross-border advisor. His effective tax rate on investment income dropped from 39% to 28%. That's $47,000 back in his pocket every single year for the rest of his life. David's only regret? Not doing this before he moved. I spent 6 months researching where to live, he told me. I spent 6 hours researching how to invest. That ratio should have been reversed. But PI funds are just the beginning. Strategy number 3 involves something 89% of American expats never even consider, and it's costing them free money from the New Zealand government. Angel Martinez taught high school English in Portland, Oregon for 32 years. At 58, she decided she was done with Portland winters and American healthcare costs. She'd visited New Zealand twice, fallen in love with Auckland, and qualified for a skilled migrant visa. She moved in March 2021, excited about New Zealand's retirement system. She'd heard about Kiwi Saver, the government-supported retirement scheme, and figured she'd get around to setting it up eventually. She was busy, finding a place to live. getting her teaching credentials recognized, learning to drive on the left side of the road without having a panic attack. 18 months later, she finally opened a KiwiSaver account. That delay cost Angel $15,750 in government contributions she can never, ever get back. Here's what nobody tells American expats. KiwiSaver isn't just a retirement account. It's a partnership with the New Zealand government. Every year you contribute at least $1,042.86. The government matches it with $521.43. That's a 50% return on day one, guaranteed, no market risk. But here's the catch. You can't retroactively claim those government contributions. If you wait a year to open your account, that's $521.43 gone forever. Wait 5 years like some expats do. That's $2,607 evaporated. A Ministry of Social Development study from 2024 found that 67% of American expats over 50 don't maximize their KiwiSaver contributions. They're leaving an average of $8,200 on the table over 5 years. That's literally free money evaporating because of one checkbox nobody told you about. Angel described the moment she realized what she'd lost as feeling like she'd been walking past a pile of cash on the street every week for 18 months, just leaving it there while she worried about other things. But here's the hope part of this story. Even starting at 58, Angel could still accumulate $67,000 in government contributions by age 65. That's $67,000 she wouldn't have in any American retirement system. Social Security? You paid into that for decades. KiwiSaver government contributions? That's new money on top of everything else. Her turning point came when she finally met with a cross-border financial advisor who asked one simple question: why aren't you maximizing your KiwiSaver? Angel didn't have a good answer. If you're an American expat in New Zealand or planning to become one, here's your action plan. 1. Open your KiwiSaver account within the first month of establishing New Zealand tax residency. Not eventually. Not when you get around to it. Month 1. 2. Set up an automatic annual contribution of at least $1,042.86. That's about $87 per month. You can contribute more, but that's the minimum to trigger the full government match. 3. Choose your fund type based on your age. Under 60, growth fund. Over 60, balance fund. Don't overthink this. The government contribution matters more than squeezing an extra 0.5% return. Financial advisors at Apex Partners Wellington put it bluntly. Every month you delay costs you $43.45 in government money, forever. Here's what blew my mind when I researched this. A 50-year-old American expat who maximizes KiwiSaver from day one gets $78,215 in government contributions by age 65. Someone who starts at 58? Just $36,500. That's $41,715 loss to procrastination. But what if you're already contributing? What if you've got your PI fund sorted and your KiwiSaver maxed out? Strategy number 2 reveals a tax loophole that lets you double dip in ways most accountants won't even mention. Because frankly, most accountants have never studied the U.S.-New Zealand tax treaty in depth. Robert and Linda Hayes retired from their pharmacy careers in Denver with what they thought was a bulletproof plan. At 63 and 61, they had $1.8 million saved across 401k as traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. They'd carefully calculated their safe withdrawal rate. 4%, $72,000 per year, plus another $108,000 in Social Security and pension income once they both claim benefits. Total annual retirement income, $180,000. They moved to Christchurch in 2022, enchanted by the idea of a walkable city with mountains, ocean, and a pace of life that didn't feel like running on a treadmill. Then came their first tax season as New Zealand residents. New Zealand taxes, $48,200. U.S. taxes, $22,800. Total, $71,000 on $180,000 of income. Linda told me she cried when she saw the numbers. After 35 years of saving, they were losing 39% of their retirement income to taxes. That wasn't the dream. That wasn't the plan. I felt like we'd made the biggest financial mistake of our lives, Linda said. But here's where the story gets interesting. The United States and New Zealand have a tax treaty, specifically Article 18, that allows for strategic structuring most people never learn about. And when Robert and Linda finally found an advisor who understood cross-border tax optimization, everything changed. According to KPMG's 2024 cross-border tax analysis, American expats in New Zealand can reduce their combined tax burden by 14 to 19% through proper foreign tax credit optimization. That's not a loophole. That's not tax evasion. That's understanding how the treaty actually works. Here's the mechanism most people miss. New Zealand taxes your worldwide income first. The United States then gives you a foreign tax credit for the New Zealand taxes you've already paid. But here's the key. The order in which you claim those credits and the sequence in which you withdraw from different account types can save you tens of thousands of dollars every single year. Think of it like Tetris. Drop the blocks in the wrong order and you lose. Get the sequence right, and everything clicks into perfect alignment. Robert and Linda's advisor restructured their entire withdrawal strategy. First, they started drawing from Linda's Roth IRA. Roth distributions are tax-free in New Zealand, but still reported to the IRS. This created phantom income that generated foreign tax credits without actually triggering U.S. taxes. Second, they drew from Robert's traditional IRA next. This is taxable in both countries, but the foreign tax credits from Step 1 offset much of the U.S. obligation. Third, they delayed claiming Social Security until age 70 for both of them. This maximized their monthly benefits and strategically backloaded their taxable income to years when they'd have maximum foreign tax credit capacity. The result? Their total annual tax bill dropped from $71,000 to $54,000. That's $17,000 extra every year for the rest of their lives. Over a 25-year retirement, that's $425,000 that stays in their accounts instead of going to tax authorities. Linda described the feeling as like someone handed us an extra year of retirement income every 5 years just for filling out forms in the right order. But here's my warning to you. Don't DIY this one. If you're earning over $120,000 in combined retirement income, have multiple income sources, or have retirement accounts in both countries, you need a cross-border CPA, not a regular accountant, not someone who's pretty familiar with expat issues. Someone who's certified in both U.S. and New Zealand tax law and has successfully filed at least 50 cross-border returns. Expect to pay $2,500 to $4,000 for the initial setup. That sounds like a lot until you realize the return on investment is usually 5 to 10 times that amount in the first year alone. Robert told me, we spent $3,200 on our first year with a cross-border specialist. We saved $17,000. Every year since then, we've spent about $1,800 on tax prep and saved the same $17,000. Best money we've ever spent. Now, if you think that was complicated, wait until you hear about strategy number 1. This one is so counterintuitive that when I first learned about it, I thought the advisor was joking. But the couple who implemented it, they're saving $83,000 every single year. And they're doing it completely legally by using a clause in the tax treaty that 99% of expats don't even know exists. Michael and Jennifer Park built a software consulting business in Seattle that generated $450,000 per year in income. At 56 and 54, they'd reached a point where they could work from anywhere. They'd visited New Zealand 4 times. They loved it. They wanted to spend as much time there as possible. But they made a decision that shocked everyone who knew them. They chose to remain New Zealand non-residents for tax purposes. Jennifer said everyone thought they were crazy. Why move to New Zealand if you're not going to be a tax resident? That's what people kept asking us. Here's what sounds impossible until you understand the rules. You can live in New Zealand up to 325 days per year and still not be a tax resident. That single classification difference saved Michael and Jennifer $83,000 in taxes last year alone. Let me explain how this works, because once you see it, You can't unsee it. New Zealand tax residency triggers under two conditions. 1. You're present in New Zealand for 183 or more days in any 12-month period, and you have a permanent place of abode there. Or 2. You're present in New Zealand for 325 or more days in any 12-month period, regardless of where your permanent home is. Notice what's missing between 183 and 325 days? A massive gray zone. PricewaterhouseCoopers' 2023 Global Mobility Study found that high-net-worth individuals can legally structure their presence to avoid triggering tax residency in multiple countries. Yet 91% of people who could benefit from this never even explore the option. Here's how Michael and Jennifer structure their life. November through April, New Zealand. That's summer there. 181 days. May and June, back in the United States. 61 days. July through October, New Zealand again. 122 days. Total days in New Zealand, 303. Just under the 325-day threshold. Picture their life for a moment. They wake up to Queenstown sunsets 303 days a year. They hike the Routeburn track. They have coffee at their favorite cafe where the barista knows their order. They've built a community. They volunteer at the local animal shelter. But for tax purposes, they're visitors. And here's why that matters. As non-residents, only their New Zealand-sourced income is taxable in New Zealand. Their U.S. business income, their investment income, their retirement account distributions, only taxed by the United States. Let's run the numbers. Their U.S. business income, $450,000 per year. If they were New Zealand tax residents, they'd pay approximately $156,000 in New Zealand taxes, then claim foreign tax credits on their U.S. return, resulting in total taxes around $156,000. As U.S. residents running a U.S. business, they pay approximately $73,000 in U.S. federal and state taxes. Annual tax savings, $83,000. Over just 3 years, they've saved $249,000. But before you start planning your own 303-day per year New Zealand life, let me hit you with the complications nobody talks about. 1. You don't get access to public health care. Michael and Jennifer pay $8,000 per year for private health insurance. 2. You can't contribute to KiwiSaver. They're missing out on that $521 annual government contribution. 3. The visa requirements are complex. You need either an investor visa, entrepreneur visa, or some other long-term visa category that doesn't automatically trigger tax residency. That's expensive and time-consuming to obtain. 4. You must maintain a genuine permanent home in the United States. They kept their Seattle condo specifically for this reason. That's property taxes, HOA fees, and maintenance costs they wouldn't otherwise have. 5. Banking becomes harder. Many New Zealand banks won't open accounts for non-residents, which means they're still using U.S. banks and dealing with international transaction fees. Jennifer was honest with me about the downsides. Some weeks, I feel like we're living out of a suitcase. We can't stay for Christmas. We have to leave before our grandson's birthday some years. And yes, I would love to not have to track every single day we're in New Zealand on a spreadsheet. Tax attorney Angel Harry from Auckland told me, this strategy works brilliantly for 5% of expats, high earners with U.S.-sourced income who value New Zealand's lifestyle but don't need its social safety net. For everyone else, it creates more problems than it solves. Michael and Jennifer are in that 5%. Today, they split their time between two countries they love. They pay U.S. taxes only. They've saved $249,000 over 3 years that they're now investing in a property in Wanaka. Jennifer said, people ask if it's worth the hassle. The spreadsheets, the flight schedules, the constant calendar management. Then I think about the extra $250,000 we've kept. And yes, it is. But here's what terrifies me about their story. They almost didn't do this. Their first accountant told them it was too risky. Their second accountant said it was impossible. Their third accountant, a cross-border specialist, showed them it was completely legal and walked them through the exact same strategy that dozens of other high-net-worth clients were using. How many of you are taking financial advice from people who've never even studied the tax treaty between the United States and New Zealand? Now, I know what you're thinking. These strategies sound complex. Some of them sound extreme. And you're right. Not every strategy is right for every person. Strategy number 4, switching to PIE-compliant funds, is straightforward. Anyone can do this with a few hours of research and an account with a New Zealand fund provider. This alone could save you $10,000 to $50,000 per year, depending on your portfolio size. Strategy number 3, maximizing KiwiSaver, is literally just opening an account and setting up an automatic contribution. That's free government money. There's no reason not to do this. Strategy number 2, foreign tax credit optimization, requires professional help, but the return on investment is massive if you have significant retirement income. Strategy number 1, the intentional non-residency approach, is only for high earners willing to accept significant lifestyle constraints and complexity. If you take away one thing from this video, make it this. Before you move to New Zealand as an American expat, spend $2,000 on a cross-border tax consultation. 1 meeting, 2 hours, a detailed review of your specific financial situation. That single conversation could save you $100,000 over the next decade. David Harry, the tech executive from Strategy 4, told me, I spent $18,000 on immigration lawyers. I spent $25,000 on moving costs. I should have spent $2,000 on a tax advisor before I moved. Instead, I spent $12,000 fixing my mistakes after the fact. Don't be David before he figured it out. So here's what I'm dying to know. If you're an American expat in New Zealand, or planning to become one, which of these strategies surprises you most? Are you already using PIE-compliant funds, or did you have no idea they existed until 13 minutes ago? Have you maximized your KiwiSaver contributions, or are you leaving free government money on the table right now? And here's my controversial take. I think 80% of financial advisors in New Zealand have never actually studied U.S. expat situations in depth. They're giving generic advice to people with specialized needs, and it's costing those people thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. Am I wrong? If you've worked with a financial advisor who really understood cross-border issues, drop their name in the comments. Help other expats find the good ones. And if you've been burned by bad advice, tell that story too, because someone else needs to hear it. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Every month you wait to optimize your investment strategy in New Zealand costs you real money. Not theoretical money. Not maybe someday money. Actual dollars evaporating from your accounts right now while you figure out which cafe has the best flat white. If you found even one strategy here valuable, if even one of these 4 approaches could save you money, hit that like button so YouTube shows this to other American expats who need it. And subscribe, because next week, I'm breaking down the 7 visa pathways to New Zealand that most Americans don't even know exist, including one that lets you bring your entire extended family and doesn't require you to invest $500,000. Oh, and one more thing. Remember when I mentioned that 127,000 American expats now live in New Zealand? There's a reason that number has tripled since 2020, and it has nothing to do with Lord of the Rings tourism or beautiful landscapes. There's a geopolitical shift happening that's making New Zealand the fastest growing destination for American expats over 50. And when you understand why, you'll understand why getting your finances right isn't just about saving money. It's about securing your future in one of the most stable countries on earth.